Yeah, I mean, what's your views on MMT, given your background and your, putting on your economist hat?
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't even need to be refuted. It's so stupid, it's ridiculous. And a very interesting question to me is like, where did MMT theory come from? And
Yeah,
the basis for that was the experience in 2008, because we had a big financial
yep,
crisis, and we central banks around the world, all over the world, engaged in what every generation has a new name, or every 10 years we come up with a new name for inflate the money supply. In those days, they called it quantitative easing. QE1,
yep.
QE2, QE3.
And
And,
that's
and,
QT.
and people were saying, well, yeah, you can't do this. It's going to produce inflation. And it didn't. Okay, so then you have to ask the question, well, why? Well, why did we not see the kind of response in producing consumer prices after 2008? And the answer comes down to the way in which the institutions absorbed the new money creation in a way that was different from the most recent experience. So back in 2008, uh, at least in the US case, the central bank was paying a higher rate of return on the assets than the banking system could get in the loan markets. What that meant is most of the new money, and there was a lot of it, went into what we call in the crypto world cold storage. So it never became hot money on the street. So it just stayed
To the
there,
vault. And,
making balance sheets of banks look
yeah.
really pretty, but it never came into use. You could say it just went into the mattresses of banks. So it never really became hot money on the streets. Now the money supply technically was expanding, but it wasn't being deployed as part of the velocity of exchange. So therefore, it didn't turn into price increases. What that did is it created a kind of an arrogance on the part of central bankers, and of course, their academic apologists, with the MMT crowd. Suddenly, they were like, "Oh, well, see, you can print all the money you want. There's no downside to it." Well, what people didn't understand was that there was a profoundly important institutional reason why we didn't see response in consumer prices, and that was due to this the way central banks were paying interest on the reserves of the banking system, and therefore keeping it out of the
Circulation.
balances produced for consumers. Yeah, out of circulation. All that was different this most recent round. So this time, uh, the balance sheet ballooned by the Fed. All right. The central banks can write checks and never bounce. But instead of just staying in cold storage, it was dropped directly into the wallets of producers and consumers around the U.S. And all over the world. So it's a completely different strategy